Morning, everybody. My name is Steve Ackerman, and this is Principles of Macroeconomics. I want to welcome you to my class. Economics is kind of a funny subject. In a lot of ways, it's very abstract. It appears kind of very distant and sometimes hard to understand. It's very conceptual, but it also deals with a lot of things that you do in your everyday lives. And in my class, we make a connection between that real abstract kind of concept sitting out there and your everyday behavior. So think about this one just as a quick example of a concept. Opportunity cost, the cost of what you give up. So you go to make a decision whether to take, an econ class versus an English class or a math or biology or whatever mix of classes you're taking. You get a benefit by taking that certain class, but then there's a cost to what you gave up, to what you didn't take. And opportunity cost helps you to kind of measure and understand that. And just think about that in terms of a life lesson, in terms of career, financial, personal finance, just everyday things. If every decision you made, you approach with the idea, what am I giving up to take this action? That really helps you to understand the value of what you're getting and the value of what you give up. And we use a lot of real world scenarios to make the connection between that kind of abstract concept and the stuff you do every day. A lot of other concepts in economics that, again, will apply not just if you're dealing with money, but they apply when you're making career decisions. They apply when you're making other kinds of life decisions. In macroeconomics, we also ask a lot of questions. We ask questions about, is the economy growing? How big is the economic pie? Are prices stable? And what's going on with jobs? And these are pretty serious questions because you see a lot of things that may not make sense or kind of make a connection. For example, the government just reported that we added 240,000 jobs to the workforce, and yet the unemployment rate went up. So we created more jobs, but we have higher unemployment. How can that happen? So understanding what the unemployment rate can tell you, but what it misses is really important. It tells you how to understand what you can get from it, just like any other information. You hear household income is up, and yet people seem to be working 2-3 jobs. People seem to be struggling to kind of improve their standard of living. So the economy might be growing, but people seem to be struggling to be better off, to have a better standard of living. Understanding how we measure those two things and how they could kind of be different helps us to understand when we hear some statistic reported, hey, wait a minute. I need to know this has certain value or doesn't have other value. And so in economics, we go through that. And it helps us to kind of understand how to look at data, how to interpret it, and to be better decision makers.